session we will go through some painting and sculpting options in Mudbox. Let me open a file in Mudbox. I'll open a file. Okay, I opened a file in Mudbox. We'll see a mesh of a character. Very first of all, I'll sculpt it. I'll make it in a proper way. Take a new layer, reduce the size of the brush, reduce the strength, and start working accordingly. Keep it mirror on in the X. And work a bit on nose, and fine. Now what we'll do is, I need to paint it. You just come to this paint tool, you will get this option: paintbrush, projection, eyedropper, airbrush, pencil, paint erase, clone, dry brush, blur, dodge, burn, contrast, sponge, hue, shift, and invert. What do you mean by paint? Paintbrush tool applies the current color to the object. Current color. For example, I just come to this paint option, and if I take a new layer, I want to paint it. You see this color. Paintbrush, color is brown, size, strength, and in X direction. I'll take a new layer. If I paint it, it will ask me to open a new layer. As I open it, if I want to paint on a diffuse, I can just name this as diffuse. What do you mean by diffuse? Diffuse is the object color. If I want to paint on the object as a color, normal color, that is called diffuse. Size of the texture. What will be the size of my texture? If I'm painting a texture on that object, what will be the size? As 1024 by 1024 as 1K, 2048 by 2048 as 2K texture, 4096 by 4096 is like 3K. What do you mean by the K? It's the quality of the texture which you will apply on it. For example, if I'm working on a 1K texture, I'll just apply, I'll just take the size as 1024, save as in which format I want to save it. That is the TIFF format, tag interchange file format. Take the TIFF format, I want to paint on diffuse, I want to paint on specular. Specular is the shine part, the highlighted area, that is called specular. What do you mean by gloss? The brightness. The specular is the brightness which increases on the part, highlighted part. Gloss is the amount of the brightness, the area which will be covered, that is called the gloss. The incandescence, like, for example, if I want the object, a texture on a particular part to be seen in a glow form, I can use this incandescence, this X as a light. Bump map is usually we use it. For example, if I want that my texture should look rough, not the mesh, the texture, that is called the bump map. And the normal map, example of a bump map. Just you can see some example. Bump map is always in black and white. You can see the example of this bump map. The black and white, the black thing goes down and the white part comes up. The bump map, the invert property. You can see some example of a normal map. What do you mean by normal map? For example, I have a UVs open. I want to work with a normal map. For example, my model is in a high mesh, is in a low mesh. If I want the texture to be in a very high form, it should look very high. I can just use this normal map. I can paint it in a normal map form and I can extract it and I can import this maps with the model in this any 3D application, and I'll see that the model will be in a high form just because of this normal map. You can see this normal map. This is a map extracted. I'll take a diffuse. I'll come to this paintbrush option, and if I take a color, for example, if I take a color of this mesh as brown, dark brown, reduce the strength, and if I start painting on it, you can see the color as I'm painting it on what? I'm painting on the diffuse channel. You can see the paint, work of paint on diffuse. You can see this, I've taken this, I can on and off this layer. Right now I am working on this paint. I'm not working in the sculpt mode, as you can see. I'm just working on this. If I take a new layer, again it will ask me I want to work it on diffuse channel or I want to work it on the same. And just you can see sometimes you can paint accordingly, as right now I can even change its color. If I need to change the color, I can even change its color. But things which I'll be applying will be on one layer. Can see this? It's been applied on one layer. I can reduce its opacity. I can reduce its opacity. Increase its opacity again. If I don't need it, I can easily delete this option. So paint tool is usually used to paint. Paint what? Paint, you want to paint diffuse, you want to paint specular, you want to paint gloss, you want to paint a normal map, anything. The second tool that comes is the projection. What do you mean by projection? Projection paint tool must be used with a stencil. What is a stencil? Stencils are some textures. For example, if I want to paint a texture on this mesh, particular mesh, the thing I'll be using is projection. What do you want? I want to project a texture on this object, right? So I can use this projection tool. I need a stencil. What I can do is just come over here, take a stencil, click add stencil. If I need to add a stencil, I have some ready-made stencils with me. I can take any stencil, just click over here and take a stencil. I guess it's already inside, right? Can see the stencil? Great. Press S and left button to rotate the stencil. S and right button to scale the stencil. S and middle mouse button to pen the stencil. I can say to move the stencil. Very first of all, I'll go into this paint option. I'll take a new layer. I want to work on 1024 texture, that is 1K. I'll paint on diffuse. Click OK. Now what I can do is just go to paint, take a projection and keep its strength as minimum. Go to object list, come to the front view, right click, look through. See this option. Right? Let's come over here, come to paint, paint tools, projection. What I need to project? I need to project this thing. Set the size of this texture on this object accordingly. Set the actual size, put it over here, take a projection. I need to zoom. If I need to zoom it, I can even zoom this. Set it accordingly. I can zoom out a bit. paint this. Start painting. What I want to paint? I want to paint a texture. See the projection of that texture onto that particular mesh. You can see the projection part. You can see the projection. Then this is projection of this texture. I can work accordingly. I can shift my texture a bit down. I can work with that. Reduce the size of the brush. I can use this texture very uniformly. So I can work it. I can work over here on the top part also. And just projecting that texture to that particular measure, I can say, or a particular geometry. Can use it over here for some deer stuff over here. And for the lips, you can shift this part down. You can use this lips option. For activating and deactivating the projection, you can press Q. I can activate and deactivate this. Nice. You can see the projected part. Project this. Thanks. Right now, for example, as I am projecting the texture on the front view, you can on and off, you can see this projection of that particular texture. Go to object list, go to site, right click, look through. If I need to work with the side view, you can just activate this texture again. I need a new layer, I can take a new layer. Take a new layer. I want to paint on this, on a new layer. I can work out in this way. Start working out this texture. Can see this. I'm painting this, or I can say projection of that particular texture. See the projection. Can project that texture. Can see. Well, accordingly we can work out. Can paint this stuff. Object list. I'll come to the perspective view. I can off it. See some stuff over here on the back part. On this, can paint bit of heads over here also. The same option. Projection can be done in this way. Projection for the face. I projected my mesh, or I can have projected the texture over here. Now what I need is, I need to create a bit of depth. For example, I'll come to the layers, I'll take a new layer for the sculpt option. Come to the sculpt option. Now I'll take a knife tool. By using a knife tool, I'll create a cut. I can increase the strength. sorry, create a cut, a very rough cut, which will help me out for generating a bit of depth. Okay. See, I'm using a knife tool. I can say this is just an outline for my judgment. Well, I created a cut over here. You can see a cut, which will help me out to work. Come to the Sculpt tool. Take a sculpt of the stencil option. Come to the stamp option. Or else I can even use a wax tool. So the use of a wax tool. Wax tool builds up a surface similar to the way, or I can say if I want to add a clay to a particular model, or else I want to add some additional mesh over it, I can use this wax option. It will in a very deformed form, in upside form. Use a sculpt. Sculpt will pull the mesh a bit up in up direction. I can pull up the mesh, so it will help me out to develop. Pulling the mesh up. Press shift, you can smoothen the surface. I need that this particular part should come out, should look like a hair. Use some stencil for working with this sculpt options. I can take a stencil. I can take a stencil, press Q. So sorry. Take a stencil. I'll take a stencil. The same working with that. You can see the roughness affecting the heads. I can see it will affect it as I have on the mirror option of the key. You can see the roughness. So right now I don't need this line. I can off this stencil. I can come over here, reduce the size of this, and I can smoothen this part. Smoothen this cut I've made using this knife tool. Just smoothen the surface for a proper output. Need to project, or I can say I need a projection on the eyebrows a bit. Again come to this, take front view, come over here, I can increase the size, come up, paint tools, projection, start projecting the eyebrows. Project the eyebrows. Can even use this grab tool to shift this up down. Use this. There is also option called paint erase. Paint erase will erase the stuff. Paint erase will erase it. What I want to erase? I want to erase the texture. I can easily erase my texture. You can see the texture, it will get erased. by using this paint erase option. Again come to this projection option, again come to this front view, look through this, take a stencil again, take a stencil, projection, view on it, on the projection. I need some projection else. Okay. Again, object list, come to this. I need a bit of depth, or I can say a bit of roughness. Even my ears are in a very basic mesh form, very basic blocking form. I can sculpt it, take a new layer, come to the sculpting option, reduce the size of the sculpt, press, reduce the size of brush, strength, control, and I need a depth, a bit of depth. Here, and increase the size of this, generate a depth inside the ear, or I can push this option and push it inside, and pull this out and sculpt it out. You can see some sculpted part over here. Increase the size of that. Reduce the size of brush again. Strength is okay. Create some depth. As you will see, I have generated a bit. You can use it. Bring it inside. Use a wax tool. Take a wax tool. Come over here. Can roughen the, increase the and see the sculpt. It will roughen it. It will rough the areas where you want. You can see the roughness. The feeling of roughness will form with the help of this wax. Increase it. Increase this part. Can increase the strength. So I can roughen the lines and see the rough part. Same, I can use this option for the hairs. For the hairs also, use it. Use the function for the hairs. Even I can use amplify option. Use amplify. Same. Let me do. Generate a bit of roughness. Use a grab tool. Grab tool will help you out. So, increase the size. Will help you to deform the particular mesh. You can see the mesh getting deformed. It will shift the loops. It will shift the loops. You can see the shifting of the loops and shift the loops using this grab option. don't need it. I feel the nose part should be sculpted a bit. Sculpt this part. I'll just off the stencil, off the stamp, and I can sculpt this. Should come out. Reduce the size of the brush. Reduce the strength. Can use it. Increase the size. See the size and shape of the nose. Shift it. Press Control this way. Bring it out. Shift it inside a bit. Can you see the shape of the nose? Come to the Sculpt tool again. Take a stencil. I'll take one stencil. I need some rough patch. Press S and rotate this. Take a Sculpt tool and I need to give a bit of roughness on the forehead and use a bit. Increase the size of it. Reduce the strength again. Start working out. This will give me the proper depth, kind of depth as I want. If I want to take some another stencil, I can take different kinds of stencils. They are available. Different variations for giving some roughness, give some rough look, give some rough kind of a feel, rough kind of a feel, rough kind of a feel on the face, rough kind of feel on the head, on the face portion. Can even use the shift option to make it smoother. Make it smoother. Can use this. Can make it rough. Just have sculpted this particular part. If I need to paint over here, the same thing. Go to paint, take a new layer. I want to work over there. Again, sculpted mesh. Yes. Paint it over. Take a projection. Projecting the particular mesh. Stiffness, ID, look through on it. In this way we use the projection tool. Even we can use the projection tool for working on the whole body. You can see the particular geometry, or I can say particular mesh. I can even project my body texture on this using this projection, or I can even use this paintbrush to just paint the particular part. Even the spine details can be generated using this paint tool. So in the next session we will go through the painting of this textures of this body. Till then, thank you.